Ke a sepela ke a ka leboa ene ke ile go ithoma e tlo ba mošate wa tšona ka moka. Welcome to the Sacred Conversations with the Gigantic Intellect. May the omnipotent, the omnipresent, the Almighty God help me in articulating the thoughts in this particular video, because I consider these thoughts to be close to my heart and I consider them very important and sacred for me, because the video is going to be a very important video, one of the most important videos that I've ever made. That's the reason I started with these sacred sentiments, which were echoed by someone very, very, very important. So I asked him for wisdom in articulating my thoughts in this particular video. These sentiments were basically echoed by someone very important, and in fact, as I was echoing these sentiments, I was actually reminded of someone very important to the world, to many people, Steve Jobs. I've read a book by Walter Isaacson where he was basically speaking about the lives and times of Steve Jobs. And the opening phrase, the opening chapter in that particular book, which was written by Isaacson, is based on the idea of abandoned and chosen. Basically, the idea premises itself on the fact that Steve Jobs was someone that was abandoned by his biological fathers, and he went on to be adopted by the Jobs family. Steve Jobs speaks about the idea of abandoned and chosen mainly due to the fact that his biological parents did not want him, but yet he went on to do great work. His parent never wanted him, but he went on to do great work. He went on to build one of the most important companies in the history of mankind, which is iPhone, which produces iPhones, is Apple Computers, which produces iPhones and produces very important laptops and whatever. They are so important to the universe, so important to many people, and so many people draw great significance to those products. They consider those products to be very significant, and they associate those products with luxury. Whenever you hold an iPhone, you feel very important. You feel like you are this type of a person that is very important and that is very privileged to be having that particular phone. And many people don't know that the person who initiated the idea of coming up, of innovating that particular phone, was Steve Jobs, whom his parents never wanted him, but he went on to build one of the most successful businesses in the history of mankind. There's this idea that the reason I chose to speak about Steve Jobs is because why is it that people have problems with copying, when someone copying other people's work? Why is it problematic when you see someone doing something important and you decide to copy him? Not everyone who copy from other people is doing it out of jealousy. Of course, there are people who are driven by jealousy, but there are those who are inspired by good work. For an example, when this great figure says, I'm going to the north and I'm going to establish the mother of all platforms, what is wrong with me saying the very same things that an institution that I want to start now would be the mother of all institutions? What's wrong with me when I echo the very same sentiments that were echoed by Steve Jobs and many other figures of saying, I'm going to change the world? I may not change your world, but I'm going to change the world that I live in, and I'm going to influence the world and the people that live in my world. That is the type of mentality that I have. To say, if I want to start this platform, who are you to criticize me about the idea that I want to implement, the idea that I want to practicalize? Who are you to think that I'm not going to win in that particular idea. Bear in mind that even the likes of Steve Jobs, the likes of Elon Musk, the likes of our forefathers, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, Robert Sobukwe, Steve Biko, at the beginning, at the inception, when they were initiating those things, those important ideas, they were never taken serious. And other people criticized them and told them that they are not going to succeed, they are going to fail in whatever endeavors that they were partaking in. But today, we talk about those important figures. But there was a time when they were criticized. There was a time when people said whatever that they were doing was not important. But today we speak of their names. The very same person that was told that he was going to fail, Steve Jobs, he went on to build a very important company. A company that went beyond his life, went ahead of his life. Today we speak about Apple computers. And Steve Jobs is no longer there. The person who initiated the ideas, him and the likes of Steve Wozniak. Today we speak about Malcolm X, how impactful his life was to the African American and to the very same Africans. Because even us, we who originate, who lives in Africa, are impacted by his contribution. The very same Martin Luther King, who lived in the United States, but the message was very profound that the message went on to live even when he himself died. A leader can be killed, but his ideas will never die. The idea that I say I'm going to initiate, I may not see its fruits, but other people will carry the idea forward. That is what actually the likes of Mangaliso Sobukwe said. That what we are fighting for a sacred cause. We are fighting to liberate mankind. The very same things that were echoed by Steve Jobs, that he was fighting to change the world. Gandhi, fighting to change the world. V-Nation, the gigantic intellect, fighting to change the world. What is it that makes you believe that I'm going to fail? Where else Steve Jobs was told the very same things, but he went on to succeed, even though he's not there to witness his great work. Or because if it is Steve Jobs, is going to succeed because you've never met Steve Jobs. But the very same sentiments that were echoed by Steve Jobs, you disagree with them when they are echoed by me, because you know me, because you know where I grew up. Then I'm going to fail. If you know me, then I'm going to fail. Watch out. We may not live to see the practical part of the idea or the fruits of our ideas, but our ideas indeed are a seed which is going to be built, and the fruits of that seed is going to be consumed by the next coming generation. Same to the Nation of Islam. It took time for the Nation of Islam to be well known, but it needed people like Malcolm X to build it to the stage that it went to. It needed Louis Farrakhan to build it to the stage that it is at now. So even in my life, there are people who are going to practicalize the idea. If I'm not going to live to see the ideas, then there are people who are going to take the ideas that I have to the next stage. Watch out. There's nothing wrong with copying people. There's everything wrong with having jealousy for the people. But I'm inspired by people who have done great work. I'm inspired by great ancestors. Hence, I'm also destined to become a great ancestor. I don't want to be forgotten, as I've said, in this world. Hence, I say to all people that I live a very meaningful life, a very different life. And many people are in fact perplexed by my life. My life is different because I've got a different purpose, and I live for a meaning in this universe. I live a meaningful life, and my life will not be similar to the life of other people. This is the gigantic intellect. Know thyself and remember your ancestors. Peace.